So we're going to go over some questions on that worksheet that you had. So let's take a look at the first little section here. Let's do number one. Start with number one. That's easy enough. It is easy. Okay, this really is easy. I'm not just saying this. Okay, I get accused a lot of students of saying things are easy when they're really not, and maybe that's true. Maybe there's something to that. But these problems really are easy. I got 1, 2, 3 right here. Heads up. Let's take a look. They tell you the slope, and they tell you the y-intercept, right? They put b and they put a little colon right here. They say 3. I guess they could just say equals. I don't know why they put a colon. But anyway, this is what they say. And what is the question? It says write an equation in what form? Slope-intercept. You have to know the difference between the two forms. All right, so they want it in slope-intercept form, and they also want you to graph it, don't they? So we'll put and graph. It's a weird looking G. Okay? So first of all, let's write the equation in slope-intercept form. But before you even start, you need to know what slope-intercept form is. What do we know slope-intercept form as?
Y equals mx plus
That's
b.
it. Y equals mx plus b. That's the slope-intercept form. So you need to know that. Okay? If you don't, you're not paying attention, okay, or something. I don't know what. So y equals mx plus b. What is the m? That's the slope. Okay, what is the b? That's the y-intercept. Well, look at this. Look how easy this is, and I promise this is easy. Okay, I'm not just saying this. I'm really not. The x and the y just stay x and y, right, for our equation. So we just write y equals m. Do I know the m? Absolutely. They tell it to me. So what do? I just throw it in there, right? Remember, the x and the y just stay x and y. So that stays in x. And then what's the b? It's 3. It's a positive 3, isn't it? So what do we put here? Plus 3. Now, what if it was a negative 3? What would we put? We'd put minus 3. Okay, simple as that. That's it. You're done. That's all there is to it. So am I right? That was simple, wasn't it? All right? You see the slope, you see the y-intercept, you just put it where it belongs, but you got to know where it belongs. This is important right here. If you didn't know this, you wouldn't be able to do this problem right here. All right, that's the slope-intercept form. You put it in, bang, you're done. Now it asks you to graph it. Now watch, you don't have to have graph paper if you don't really want it on this, okay? It's not that complicated. There are times when it would be better to have graph paper, but on these particular problems right here, I don't think that's that hard. So what are we going to do? Let's do a different color. Let's do red. First of all, I look for the y-intercept, and I graph that first. 1, 2, 3. So here's the y-intercept right there. It's at positive 3 on the y-axis. Now, what's the slope? The slope is negative 4, or negative 4 over 1, if you wanted to do that way. Now watch this. I start at that y-intercept where I put that first dot, and then I have to rise over run. Okay? So I rise negative 4, which means I go which direction? You go down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't put a dot here. I still got to do what? Still got to run. So which way do I run? One, which direction? To the right. Yes, right there. Okay, do you see that? So the slope is negative 4 over 1. So I started at the y-intercept, and then I went down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I ran, okay, rise over run. I ran to the right one place. There it is. So I connect those two dots together. Now don't just do this. Okay, a lot of people do this. Don't do that. Extend it through. All right, it wouldn't be wrong if you just started and stopped at the dots, but it looks a lot better if it goes through those 2 points, and there you go. You don't even have to put arrows on there, but if you really want to be technical about it, you can put arrows on it like this. Okay? That's all there is to it. That was simple, wasn't it? Agreed. All right, I'm not going to do every one of these problems, but we did number 1. Number 2 is exactly the same kind of problem, just the numbers are a little bit different, that's all. Let's take a look at 3 and 4. 3 and 4 look a little different, the way they write the question, but really it's the same exact problem. Look what they tell you. Oh, they never did say m equals. They always put that little colon there. I'll tell you what, I don't like that little colon. I'm going to put equals. Is that all right? So the m is 3/7, and then they give you a point. They don't tell you the b, do they? Or do they? I'm doing 3. Yeah, 2 you already know how to do. All right, it's just like 1, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm skipping to number 3. All right, so let's look at this. They tell you the slope, all right, and they give you a point. But they didn't just give you any old random point. What did they do? They gave you a what particular point here? The y-intercept. They gave you the y-intercept, didn't they? That 0, 1 is the y-intercept. And how do you know that? Well, if we wanted to graph the thing, let's graph it first. Okay? So watch this. So it says our line goes through the point 0, 1. Where's 0, 1? Well, 0 on the x and 1 on the y. So look at that. What is the point 0, 1? It's our what? It's our y-intercept, isn't it? Did you notice that when you saw that point right there? Okay, that is the y-intercept. So they could have just said b equals what? 1 if they wanted to, right? They just decided to write it a little different way. They just decided to give it to you as an ordered pair. But that is the y-intercept. 0, then a number, is always the y-intercept. Agreed? And then now, the slope is 3/7. So let's just graph it, then we'll write the equation after we graph it. We'll just go different order this time. All right, so it's rise over run. So I start at my y-intercept and I rise 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, positive, right, because it's positive over positive. So I go up 3, and then what? To the right, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then your point would be right there. Take those 2 points. Don't leave it just 2 points. I will mark it wrong if you just put 2 points and don't connect the dots. All right, I promise you I will. Make them go through. Don't just start and stop at the dots. Now, if you just started and stopped at the 2 points, I'd give you credit for that, but it just doesn't look right, okay? If you want to look like it's supposed to look, then put the line going through it. You don't need the arrows on the end. I don't really care about that, but at least extend them through those 2 points. That's your graph. That wasn't hard. It's not hard to graph those, is it? Not at all. Let's write the equation in slope-intercept form. So it's y equals mx plus b. So let's plug the stuff in. Y equals m. What's our m? 3/7. Put the x. What's our b? It's a positive 1, isn't it? That's it. So that blue line is your answer, and this stuff I circled right there is your answer. Couldn't get much easier than that. Yes? Yeah, well, we're getting to that. Well, I mean, there are problems just like that on this side as well. So we are going to get to that. In fact, the next problem, well, actually, the next problem's not like it, because the next problem says to put it in the other form. So this form was slope-intercept form, right? Slope, y-intercept, slope-intercept. What's the next form? It's called point-slope form. If you didn't write it down in the notes when we did it on Thursday, write it down now. It's called point-slope form. Now, this is a form that you need to memorize. I'm sorry, but there are times when you have to memorize some things. All right? And here's the point-slope form. It's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Remember, the x and the y that doesn't have the 1 on it, just the plain old x and y, just stays x and y when we write our equation. It's the x1 and the y1 are the ones we're going to stick numbers in for. Everybody hear what I just said? Okay, people get confused on this all the time. So I want you to pay attention the first time so you get this. It's the x1 and the y1 is where you're going to put numbers in for. And you're also going to put numbers in for what? M, the slope. All right, so they're going to give you a point. So a point is an ordered pair, right? And they're going to give you a slope. So if they give you a point and they give you a slope, put it into the point-slope form, and you're good to go. So let's see the point and the slope they give you. Let's just do number 5. That's the easiest one. So number 5, they give you a slope. So m equals 2, and they give you a point. Now look, this point's a little different from the point they gave you on that other problem. That other problem, the point they gave you was the y-intercept. Is this point right here the y-intercept? No, because if you go over 5 and up 2, that's not going to be on the y-axis, is it? All right, so they don't give you the y-intercept this time, but they do give you a point. Watch how easy this is. This is so simple. This is probably easier than the other one. I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. We're going to put it into this formula right here. So remember, the x and the y that doesn't have the 1 on it, it just stays x and y. So how are we going to write this? Y minus y1. What's our y1 here? It's that thing right there. See, that is our x1, and this one is our y1. And all you do is just plug in these two numbers where you see x1 and y1. Couldn't be easier, could it? I don't think so. Y minus y1. What's our y1? 2. equals m. What's our m? That's also 2, isn't it? It's not always going to be the same number, but in this one it happens to be 2. And then you just keep the x minus x1. What's our x1? Just 5. That's it. You're done. They ask you to write it in point-slope form. That's in point-slope form. That's all there is to it. Simple. Easy, easy, easy. Now, they're not all going to be this easy, don't get me wrong, but this one is. This one's really simple. It's just a matter of putting some numbers into a formula. Bang, you're done. Make sense? All right. Let's do number 6. It's just like this, but with a little bit of a twist. So I want to make sure that you see this. Okay, they made that one really super easy. So number 6, I'm going to give you more problems that are like this tonight, okay, from the book. And I'll let you know what they are as we get to the end of class. Okay, so I want you to know how to do this because you're going to have to do some more tonight. All right, and they give you a point to -4. All right, here we go. And it says put it in point slope form. You got to read the instructions. It's very important that you read the instructions so you know what form you're going to put it in. On the quiz and the test, make sure you look at the problem and read the instructions. Everybody paying attention? If it says put it in point slope form, then you use this form. If they say put it in slope intercept form, then you got to make it y equals mx plus b. I could give you both pieces of information and ask you for both equations, all right? One in point slope form, one in slope intercept form. So, but right now we're just doing point slope form. Point slope form. All right, so let's put it in there. So let's write it out. Y minus y1. This needs to be memorized. M times x minus x1. If you get to a quiz or a test and you don't have this memorized, you haven't done enough. All right, this must be memorized. Should I put the word next to it? Memorize. Okay, so memorize this thing. It's not that hard. You do it a few times. You write it down a handful of times. You got it memorized. Let's plug some stuff in. It's y minus. Now this is the part that might be a little bit trickier than the other problem. That's why I decided to do number 6 as well. So it's y minus y1. What's my y1 here? It's -4, isn't it? So it's y minus what? A -4. You know what a lot of people mistakenly do? They just put y minus 4. A lot of people look at this, they see this, and they say, oh, y minus 4. It's not. It's y minus -4. All right? And you know what's going to happen here, don't you? It's going to be a plus. Add a line, change sign, right? So that's going to be plus. Equals m. What's our m? It's -3 times x minus 2. And that's it. Simple. Got it? Okay. They actually say to graph it as well. Let's just do that very quickly here, and I'll just show you how easy it is to graph these things. So let's look up here to figure out what the graph is. It goes through the point 2, -4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a point right here. It says the slope is -3. Now you could look at this. Actually, let's scooch this up. You could look at this two ways. You could look at it as -3 over 1. We've talked about this before, haven't we? Or you could look at it as what? 3 over -1. Isn't that the same thing? What would you rather do here? Would you rather go down and to the right, or would you rather go up? I'd probably go up and to the left, just so it kind of fits on our graph a little bit nicer. But you could go the other way as well. It'd still line up. So let's do this. Let's go up 3 to the left 1. So let's go up 3. 1, 2, 3, and to the left 1. That would put you right there, wouldn't it? We don't just leave it like that. We connect the dots, extend it through both points, right there, and there's your graph. Simple as that. Graphing's easy, isn't it? Especially if they tell you a point and they tell you the slope. All right, it's very, very, very simple to graph. Okay. They got to be harder than this, right? Wouldn't you think? Yeah. 7 and 8 are pretty much the same thing. They give you the slope as a fraction, but that's really not that big of a deal. Tell you what, let's jump down to 13. All right. Now, I said when I read off these answers that we didn't do one exactly like this in class on Thursday, but you do know something about lines that are parallel and lines that are perpendicular. That's right. So if lines are parallel to each other, let's review. We have discussed this before. All right. If lines are parallel, they have the what? The same slope. All right. So let's take a look at number 13. It says Oh, actually, we got to go from that graph too. It says write an equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so make sure that you understand that. It's slope-intercept, I'll just shorten that, form. And what do they tell you? A line that's parallel to line R. So what do we have to do? We got to look at the graph. We got to find line R, don't we? All right, we'll do that in a second. And then it contains point 1, negative 1. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a look at line R and find a couple key points to line R. All right, so line R, which one's that? Yeah, it's on the left. Anyway, you see it. What do you know about line R? What's a really important point to line R? How about the y-intercept? Look at it. It's not up here on the board. Look at your graph on your paper. Look at line R. Where does it look like it hits the y-axis? At 3, doesn't it? Let's count. 1, 2, 3. Yep. It looks like it hits at 3. Hope you guys are paying attention. Looks like line R hits right there, doesn't it? Everybody looking at line R on your paper? It looks like it goes through right here, okay? What other point does it look like it goes through? What about the x-axis? Looks like it goes through negative 3 on the x-axis, doesn't it? Would you agree? So line R kind of looks like this. Okay? So that would be line R. We'll put R right there. Don't you agree? That looks like the one on the paper. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to find an equation of a line, not of this line, but another line that's parallel to this and goes through the point 1, negative 1. So my other line goes through the point 1, negative 1 right here. You see that? But what do I know about this line? I got to find the slope, right? So let's find the slope. We could, if you wanted to, you could put a couple points here if you wanted. So what would that point be? That would be 0, 3. What is this point right here? It's negative 3, 0. If you wanted to, you could put that into the formula, right? Into that slope formula and get an answer. Let's do that just real quick so we remember what the slope formula is. Change in y, right, over change in x. So we subtract the y's. So let's go like this, 0 minus 3. And then what? Subtract the x's, negative 3 minus 0. So what is that? That's negative 3 over negative 3, which is positive 1. Okay, so the slope of this line is positive 1. Or you could have done this. You could have counted up. 1, 2, 3, right? Your rise is positive 3, and run, 1, 2, 3. Your run is 3. 3 over 3 is 1. You could have done that as well. Make sense? So the slope is 1. Well, what's true about the slope of this line and the slope of the line I'm trying to find? The slope's going to be the same, isn't it? So the slope has got to be 1 as well. Okay? Everybody with me on that? So, what do we do now? We got to find the equation of this line. I'll tell you what did they give us? They gave us a point, didn't they? And we figured out a what? A slope. Now we got two formulas, don't we? We got two formulas. One of our formulas is the, talk to me, point slope form. Why don't we put it in that form first, and then we'll change it into the slope-intercept form. You ever think about doing that? Let's do it that way. Let's put it into the point slope form, and then we'll change it to the slope-intercept form. I'll show you. It's actually kind of easy. Y minus y1, I'll write it down again, m times x minus x1. Really, when you're first learning these formulas, this is what I would do if I were you. Okay, I would write down the formulas. So let's put the stuff in here. Y minus, what's my y1 here? It's a negative 1, isn't it? So y minus negative 1, you know what's going to happen here, don't you? So it'll be a plus. We'll do that in a second. So let's do the m. What's the m? It's just a 1. And then x minus x1. What's my x1? 1. Lots of 1's flying around, aren't there? What is this, though? That's y plus 1, isn't it? Equals. Do we need this 1 right here? Not really, so I can just put x minus 1. Now, we put it in the point slope form. That's in point slope form. But what do we want our answer in? In slope-intercept form. Look, one little simple step and we got it in slope-intercept form. Watch how easy this is. How do I put it in slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. I just need to get y by itself, don't I? So how do I get y by itself right here? Just subtract a 1 from both sides. You see that? And so what do I get? Y equals x. What's negative 1 minus 1? It's -2, and there it is. That's slope-intercept form. So there's a couple things you needed to do. Let's review quickly on this again. First thing I did is I found the slope of line R, right? Because they said we have to find the slope-intercept form of a line that's parallel to line R. So first thing I said was, hey, let's look at line R and let's find the slope of line R. So I found the slope of line R, and it's 1. So I know the slope of my line is going to be the same exact thing. Why? Because parallel lines have the what? The same slope. What if it said perpendicular? What would be true about the slopes if they were perpendicular?
Negative reciprocal.
They're negative reciprocals, okay? That's the phrase that I want you to hear, okay? Is Summer the only one paying attention in this class? Okay, she's giving me all the answers. Hopefully this is making sense to you, all right? So the slope of this line is 1, so the slope of our line is going to be 1. Look, I got a point, got a slope, so what kind of makes sense? It makes sense to put it into the point-slope form. So let's do that. We put it in here, and we got this for our point-slope form. But is that the answer that we want to write down? No, because they want the answer in slope-intercept form. So one little step. Here's point-slope form. How do I put this into slope-intercept? Just get the y by itself. I do that by subtracting a 1 from both sides, and there it is. So that is the slope-intercept form of a line that goes through the point 1, -1 and has a slope that's parallel to line R. That was a mouthful I just said right there. But I'm recording this. Go back on YouTube, pause it, rewind, listen to what I'm saying, okay, so that you understand what we just did right there. All right, let's move on. We got time to do a couple more. So we do. Let's try purple. Let's do 18. Because look at 15, 16, and 17. Everybody looking at those? What do they give you? They give you a slope and they give you a what? A y-intercept. That's easy, isn't it? When they give you a slope and they give you a y-intercept, it's really easy. We've already talked about that. I don't think we need to waste our time on that. Number 18, it's very close to what we just finished doing. All right? This time, look what they do. They give you the slope and they give you a point. And what we're going to do is we're going to write this answer in slope-intercept form. Let's write that down so we don't forget. It's slope-intercept form. Which is what? What's slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to take this information and turn it into that right there. Well, we already know one thing. What do we know? We know the slope. So really all we've got to do is find what? The y-intercept. There's two ways to do this. Let's do it the way we just finished doing this. They gave you a point. They gave you a slope. So let's do this first before we put it in the slope-intercept form. If they gave you a point and they gave you a slope, what do you think we're going to use? Point-slope form. So let's do that. All right, so let's use the point-slope form. Let's put the stuff in here. Y minus y1. So it's y minus, what's our y1 up here? It's 5, isn't it? Okay, equals m. Do we know our m? It's 4. Okay, x minus x1. What's our x1? It's 2. Now, is that in slope-intercept form, though? But we can do one quick little thing. Let's do this first that we didn't have to do in that last problem. Up here, up here. So watch this. I'm going to take this 4 and distribute it through. All right, that was simple. What do we need to do now to get it into slope-intercept form? One more step. Add 5 to both sides. That's right. So add a 5 to this, add a 5 to this. And so now we get our answer. It's y equals, that cancels out. What do we get here? 4x. Yep. Negative 8 plus 5 is minus 3, and there it is. It's in slope-intercept form. Here's another way to do this. I'm going to do the other way in different colors so you can see the difference. That's one way to do it right there. And that's a great way to do it. It's fine. I'm going to show you another way to do it, and we kind of taught this way on Thursday. But let's do this problem again. So it's slope is 4, and it's what, 2, 5, right, is the point? Here's another way. We can do it directly equal to this thing right here, y equals mx plus b. Everybody watching? Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to plug stuff into this formula directly. So there's two ways to do this. You could go to point-slope form and then get y by itself and change it to slope-intercept. Or you could go directly into slope-intercept form from this information. So let's plug some stuff in here. What is this 2 and this 5? This is my x, and this is my what? Y. So look what I have. I got 3 of the 4 things here, don't I? So let's plug the stuff in. What am I going to plug in for y? 5. Equals, what am I going to plug in for m? 4. What do I plug in for x? 2. It's being multiplied, right? The m and the x are being multiplied, so we multiply them together. What don't we know? The b. So now we can just do some math and solve for the b. So 5 equals what? 8 plus b. Subtract 8 from both sides. Do you see it coming out now? So b is what? Negative 3. It's not my answer, though, is it? I got to write it in slope-intercept form. So I write y equals what? 4x minus 3. Well, it's plus negative 3, but I just put minus 3. So there's a couple ways you could look at it. I kind of prefer this way, don't you? Right? But this way is okay as well. Look what we did here. We put it in the we put it in the point slope form, and then we just got y by itself. We are done. This is kind of the same thing, isn't it? You could kind of look at this as slope-intercept form or point slope form, but we're finding the y-intercept. All right, here's what I want you to do. Don't leave. Don't leave. I got to give you a little assignment here. This is from the book, okay? We haven't done much. No, I want you to hang on to that. Use that to study from, okay? So here's from the book. Everybody listening? So it's page 200.
Elizabeth Fleming,
And we are doing
Wagner,
13 to 39,
Denise
but
Mackey,
we're
Mary
only doing
Brunel,
the odd
Michaela
problems.
Wilson,
Just the
Penny
odds.
Bigelow,
Just
Jonathan
the odds.
Lumpkin, Billy McKenzie.